Hey guys, Matt back for Photo News and Reviews. Today I'm going to look at a 4-time optical zoom lens from Tamron. They've already got this one out on the market for Canon, but the Nikon mount is on its way and I've got one here to play with. Now, considering they make lenses like an 18 to 270, obviously a 4-time zoom doesn't sound very much. It's probably not a big lens, right? Actually, it's gargantuan. This is a 95mm front filter thread, 150 to 600 millimeter zoom lens. You know, you see on some lenses where it gives you the option of full range autofocus or, 2 meters to infinity. This one is 15 meters to infinity or full range. So it's incredibly big, and when you zoom it, incredibly bigger. But considering all the glass and all the tech and the VC and they've got their latest generation USD motor in this one, the retail price or the list price, I think, is around 140,000 yen or $1,400 US, but you can find them on sale a fair bit cheaper than that. So take a little bit of a look around. But for me, I'm quite, this is the Canon one, as I say, is already out, and optically they should be exactly the same. But let's take a look around this one and some of the specs. Okay, so 95mm front filter thread. It is a big lens, but it's not that heavy. It's 1.95 kilos, which is about twice the weight of a Nikon 24-70 for reference. This has 20 elements in 13 groups, and it's got the E-band and BBAR coatings, which are to reduce flare. It's got their VC, which I've found to be great in the past. It's got the latest generation of ultrasonic silent drive autofocus motor. It's got full-time manual focus override. 9-blade rounded aperture, the tripod mount and the whole collar is removable. This has a maximum aperture of f5 at the short end, but if you zoom it all away, the fastest you can go is 6.3, and then it'll stop down all the way to f40. Of course, that may not sound terribly fast, but I found the autofocus to be good, and you'd be surprised the kind of bokeh you can create with that sort of focal length. Okay, so apologies for the noisy ambient in the room. It's a trade show, what are you going to do? Being an F5 to 6.3, I know that'll put off a lot of people, but really what it comes down to for me, when you're shooting with such a long lens, you're still going to first of all, you're going to compress your foreground and background considerably, which means that you're able to exclude a lot of clutter for cleaner backgrounds anyway. And at 6.3, obviously, you don't get as much bokeh, or the blur is not going to be as blurry. But still, at 600mm, you'll be surprised how much you can actually blur things out. So, the main downside for me of a slower lens is how's it able to focus? That's less light for it to be able to actually focus with. So let's just have a little play here and see how we go. So there's a security guard up in the distance there. First, I'll get the wide shot and show you, so he's not obscured. Okay, so there he is at a little bit overexposed, but at 150, and then let's go into 400, and then all the way into 600. My security. So you can see, obviously, even there you're getting a nice blurred out background on him. If we bring it in on a much closer subject, now this one doesn't focus nearly as close as some lenses. You can see, nice sharpness and clarity on this guy. Let's go in closer on him. Okay, now you would have heard me wax lyrical about the VC that Tamron puts into their lenses and how effective it is. I find the 70 to 200 just fantastic. But how will it actually go at 600? You know the rule of thumb that if you're shooting at 200mm focal length and you want to use a shutter speed of at least 1/200th of a second, let's see what kind of a shutter speed I can handhold and get a sharp shot on this one right out at 600mm. Of course they were sharp, that's just too easy. So let's go straight to here at 1/320th of a second. Keep in mind that at 600mm, the fastest aperture we have is 6.3. So a downside is that we were shooting at ISO 12,800 indoors here. But they're perfectly sharp. This guy down at 1/100th of a second, also perfectly sharp at 600mm focal length. That's impressive, but I know you want more. This guy was shot at 1/60th of a second, and he's still nice and crisp. Look at the edges on the one on his shirt and the fine detail in the hair, it's still there, although we are losing some detail thanks to the high ISO. This guy, right down at 1/40th of a second, so nice and slow. We're really getting down there now, and we just had to struggle to get a subject that didn't move. Here we are at 1/30th of a second, again at 600 millimeters. Pretty impressive result. Let's look at the 100% crop on that one. Maybe not pin sharp, but getting pretty darn close. So next I resorted to shooting something that wasn't moving rather than a person, and shot the Rico sign up in the distance. This is at 1/20th of a second, and again it's not perfectly pin sharp as we zoom in, but it's almost there, and I think that's a pretty bloody impressive result for a 600 millimeter lens to be able to handhold that slowly. So look, overall, I think this is a really nicely built lens, and for what you're getting, fantastic value. If you're wanting to shoot this indoors, you may struggle unless you have the highest end body to really get focus quickly, and you'll want a high ISO capability given the slower aperture. But if you're shooting animals and wildlife and that kind of thing outdoors with good light, I think this is going to be fantastic for you. And what you can do to the foreground and background by compression makes up for some of the bokeh that you're losing by only going to 5 or 6.3. Leave me any thoughts. See you soon with more photo news and reviews.